everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sara.
And I'm Allie.
I'm really excited about today's episode. We've got like a smorgasbord of all topics. We've got FA Cup, we've got FAWC, which is the second tier of the WSL. We've got NWSL. We got a lot going on. I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Though I have to get something in very quickly. First, I need to make an apology to my UK listeners. I've been called out by a couple of people.
Wait. Before you even move forward, who called you out? Or you called out on Twitter?
Yeah, I was called out on Twitter by some of my friends and some other UK listeners because I called Alex Greenwood an outside back.
Uh-oh. Is that bad?
Yeah, apparently no, we don't do that in the UK. She is not an outside back. She is either a left or right back, and I don't know which one it is.
Are you serious? You don't use the phrase outside back in the UK?
Nope, and I've been told that my British friends are very disappointed in me for using the term outside back, so I wholeheartedly apologise. I blame Sara entirely.
I'll take the blame, because to be honest, I have a lot of beef with that. I don't understand why you wouldn't just use the term outside back. It's a better term than having to specify left or right back, because anybody who plays at a professional level should be able to play the left or the right side. So why can't we just call it an outside back?
Well, apparently in the UK, that is a grievous thing that I did. So I apologise specifically to Tom, who was the first one to flag it to me. And I promised to do better and learn which side of the pitch that Alex Greenwood actually plays on.
I don't know. What if she plays right back for Manchester City, and then she plays left back for England? What do you call her? Tom, help us. What do you call her? Do you just call her an outside back? I'm just going to say outside back as much as I can in this podcast. Sorry, Tom, I'm going to piss you off.
Yeah, Tom, tweet us again. Let us know what I should actually be saying.
Should we get into it, Allie? You had a great weekend. Thank you all for following Allie's adventures, as we've now tagged it, copyrighted it, everything.
Yeah, you guys seem to love it. So as I do it a lot, you will be following more on Instagram. If you're not, you're missing out, guys. There's lots of randomness. But yeah, that's all I can call it, because it's not just football. It's not just football. You know, you get to see what I had for breakfast, which yesterday was a chocolate donut and coffee.
It was a Krispy Kreme donut, for the record, which I very badly wanted to comment on because I love Krispy Kremes, but we've really digressed. This is not interesting content. Really, if you want to know Allie is a whole person, who is the person behind the mic? Tune in on Sundays to Allie's Adventures on Instagram stories. Your adventure on Sunday was all the way over to Liverpool to see the second division, the championship game, Liverpool versus Lewes FC. So for those in the US who don't know, Allie, will you specify just WSL versus championship, all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have tiers to our sports. So you've got your WSL, which is your top level. Most of our England internationals play in that league. And then we've got the championship, which is the one step below us. They tend not to be professional sides, and they are competing for a spot in the WSL. And Liverpool have been there before. They got relegated a couple of seasons ago. And then Lewes are an up-and-coming bright spot who've been in the championship for a while. And it was the first proper championship game I got to go to, because normally I'm following my beloved West Ham around the country. And it was really exciting this time because I got to be a journalist.
All right. So, yeah, we were both journalists this weekend. We were both very fancy with our press passes. Mike, who edits the show, actually, I believe, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is a partial owner at Lewes FC.
Yep, that would be about right, because, and just to plug it, anybody can own a stake in Lewes if you so wish.
How is that possible? Is that just the structure of their club?
Yeah, no, Lewes actually have a really interesting structure, and they're one of the only clubs that paid their men and women's team the same, and they split any prize money they get from competitions between both clubs, and they are very much for the people, by the people.
That's amazing. I'm very happy we're plugging this. Everybody, if you want to support equality in the game, go support Lewes FC.
Absolutely, 100%. And if you go on their website, it will have that you can be a part owner for a year, 3 years, and a lifetime. And a lifetime only will cost you about 120 quid, so that's probably about $150, $160.
You said for a lifetime?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm about to add football club owner to my resume.
So it's definitely worth it. But yeah, I'm sure your press experience was a bit more glamorous than mine. Mine was stuck in a boardroom with some terrible free coffee. But I did get the best view in the pitch, so I have to say. But yeah, it was less glamorous than how Helen makes it sound.
So Helm's going to make everything sound glamorous.
Yeah, I wasn't running into Razadee, put it that way.
How was the game? I think you were disappointed, if I caught up correctly on your Instagram. It seems like you were disappointed by the game. And tell us some inside scoop from a press conference afterwards. Give us the details.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, to be honest, I thought Liverpool would win, which they did. I thought they would absolutely batter Lewes just because of the form that Liverpool have been on recently, and Lewes has been a bit hit and miss. But to be honest, Lewes were so unlucky not to come away with a point. There was a point where literally their players beat the keeper and then they couldn't beat the left post. Like, the marksmanship was not quite there. I think Lewes sussed out Liverpool really well. Liverpool are very fond of playing out from the back, so going goalkeeper, defender, midfielder up front, and Lewes just put the pressure on all the back wingers and defenders to stop that from happening. So Liverpool had to come up with a different way of playing, which Matt, their coach, said at the end of the press conference. He was like, they sussed you out. They sussed us out very quickly, and they had to think very quickly about changing their game plan.
So Liverpool, in my experience, has been a team with a lot of internal turmoil, if you will. As recently as last year, really, there's just like a lot of stuff that went down about the facility that they built for the men's club and how they treat their women. And a lot has come out over a long time about how they treat their women. How was being at the field? Can you tell that Liverpool as a team right now, are they cohesive? Do you know anything about how they've been sorting through these issues? Or is this just an ever-present and those who are playing for the club are really still playing through this?
I think the team have become more cohesive. Like, you can see it on the way they play. Like, the relationship between Melissa Lawley and the goal scorer Leanne Kernahan was beautiful, and you can see that they trust each other and they play well. I think that's in spite of their club, not because of their club. And the one thing that struck me, it may sound a bit weird, is they play at another club's football ground. That's just how it works with women's teams. And they play for a club called Tranmere Rovers. Now, in other clubs that I've been to, the women's team will put up massive flags and hoarding so that you know you're at a, for example, Arsenal women's game. At Tranmere Rovers, there was like one board behind one goal that just said Liverpool FC and one board behind the other goal that said Liverpool FC. Everything else, including the stewards, were branded Tranmere.
Wow, that's really disappointing. For a club that has that much money, just can't bother to be spending any time just like putting up signage that even just supports their club on the field. That's really, really disappointing. I'm curious if somebody, for example, from the US or even from the UK, just anywhere was listening, was like, well, why are we talking about the championship? We don't cover the championship really on this podcast. We talked about Leicester FC briefly at the end of last season because they won and they were going to be promoted and are now in the WSL. But other than that, we haven't really spent a lot of time talking about the championship. So I suppose, why is it important for us to be able to shed light on the championship, on these second division teams? Why do you think it is?
Because they are the league that I wish the WSL was, in the fact that it is so close. It's a bit like with the NWSL in the fact that any team can beat any team on any day. It's not, there are no guaranteed results in the championship, so you end up having a more fun and exhilarating final few matches, because at the moment it's between Liverpool and Durham who's going to go up, but all it's going to take is one loss for Durham and Sheffield can leapfrog them into the position. It is more exciting, I think, than the WSL, because you don't know who is going to get promoted. Just because a team came second last year to Leicester doesn't mean they're going to jump up to first this year. Yeah. And that's what the exciting thing is.
I really love that. And then how likely is it, over the course of the last 5 years, we'll say, how often does the team who gets promoted just get bumped back down the next year? How often are the teams in the championship sitting there like, oh, hey, welcome back. It's been only a year, but welcome back.
You know what? We thought that was going to happen with Villa last year, and they managed to
narrowly escape.
Liverpool have been there a couple of seasons because it is really hard to escape. Because it's only one promotion place, you have a couple of dodgy games and that's you out for the season.
And that's a really interesting point. Do you think that the WSL would be better suited to have 2 relegation spots. I mean, there's plenty of teams that end up at the bottom. It's not like the WSL has such a weird spread where one team is very obviously being relegated and is worse than the others. There's usually a good 3-ish sitting at the bottom. So do you think that the WSL or just the overall structure of like the combined leagues would do better to have multiple teams relegated and multiple teams promoted?
I definitely think so. I think it would make for a more interesting, more well spread out league, because at the moment, like I said, it's going to be Liverpool or Durham that's going to come up, and both are such different teams and have such different backing. Liverpool obviously are under the umbrella of Liverpool FC. Durham don't have a men's team. They're based off of the university. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how they could cope in a WSL setting where all the players are full-time, where they've got that bigger expectation.
I would like to see that. I would like to see multiple teams relegated and multiple teams promoted for this pure fact of, well, I guess there's 2 reasons. Number one, I don't know how this is going to sound, but number one, like entertainment value. To be honest, it's more exciting when you're getting new teams in there. I was really excited to watch Leicester City simply because I hadn't gotten to watch them a lot. And then also for the competition level, it's more fun. For example, if we got to see a Leicester City matchup with the other team that got promoted, but in the WSL, and see them battle it out to see who gets to say, it's just more competitive. Whether it's at the bottom or the top of the table, it's just more competitive.
Basically, I just want to see a northeast battle between Beth Mead and Beth Heppel, who plays for Durham. Those are the 2 that I just want to see how they go against each other.
Deep cut right there. I do not know who Beth Heppel is.
I know, that's what I'm here for, Sarah. I'm here to educate and teach you the ways of the British.
And I'm here to teach you how to properly pronounce what an outside back is and properly use that terminology. Because let's be honest, it's just a better term than having to reference a left or right back. I told you I wasn't going to let it go, Tom.
So obviously did my first press conference after the game. It worked out well that the 2 people I spoke to were ex-West Ham. So the manager, Matt Beard, is ex-West Ham manager, and the goal scorer, Leanne Kiernan, used to play for West Ham up until this season. So I already had quite a good relationship with them because they knew me from my travelling days. So I got to ask some really cool questions. But Leanne's mum had come over from Ireland. So I just sort of like tapped her on the shoulder and I was like, don't know if you remember, and then literally got the biggest bear hug from this Irish mother who was like, I remember you.
Oh my goodness, Allie. You're really cool with the players and their families and the coaches and everything.
Yeah, man. Like,
all right, so give us the inside scoop then. It's clear that you know everybody, so give us the inside scoop. Tell us some stories.
So Matt was really annoyed with their performance, like even though they won, because he was like, we were lucky, we played so badly. They're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, which I think they're trying to keep under wraps, but it's becoming clearer and clearer with their squad sheets when you're starting to see, you know, players in the 40s for their squad numbers. Leanne was saying about how together as a team they are. Like, and she was saying that away from like the presser as well, saying that they feel like a family this time, whereas before you could see it last season, Liverpool were just not having that. And Leanne's mum was telling me how happy she was and how happy she was to get out of London. I was like, don't say that, because I love West Ham.
I would really, really love to see, I mean, I know you were there as Liverpool press, so to speak, like continue speaking about Liverpool, I would really love to see them, and just to kind of tie it full circle, I would love to see them, a club that has so much money, that has so much backing, that could do such good things in the women's league, that has people across the globe who would like to support their women's teams. I would love to see them invest more and just get into the WSL, because they would be so fun to see in the WSL.
Yeah, for sure. Just like I said, it's just little things like having your own branding everywhere. Like, it doesn't take much, because I see it at like Boreham Wood where Arsenal play. It's Boreham Wood's club. But you don't know that when Arsenal play. Dagenham and Redbridge where West Ham plays. You don't know that on West Ham days. Like, I thought it was a very poor showing, to be honest.
So looking at the standings, it seems like Liverpool they're sitting in second, so you know there is a chance that they get promoted after seeing the performance on Sunday. What do you say? If you had to make a call right now, is Liverpool going to be the squad that gets promoted, or will it be somebody like Durham?
I think you can't say that until they play each other. So they play each other in 2 weeks' time.
I think that's a cop-out answer, Allie. I think you really just are avoiding making a selection.
All right, as things stand, it's Durham, not Liverpool, because it's only the one spot.
You heard it here first, people. Now we're going to hold you to that forever and ever and ever. We are going, everybody, because you missed this song last week because it was international break. We are going around the world, around the world.
Yes, we should. I'm not going to sing, but I will just tell the people that we are going around the world.
I'll kick it off. We're going to head over to Germany, hop on a quick flight to Germany for the Frauen Bundesliga, which is so hot right now. We've got 3 teams tied for first with 15 points right now, and 2 teams sitting below them with 13 points. So this table is really, really competitive, and we're excited to continue covering it. Some of these teams are real contenders in the Champions League as well, so I think it's really important that we're covering it. Not just that it's exciting, it's very important because I think we'll see them again. Games resume this Friday. They haven't resumed yet from international break, but they resume this Friday, and we will continue to cover it.
Okay, so we're just going to do a hop, skip, and a jump over to France. The Division 1 Feminine, that was a terrible French accent. I can see it's carrying on.
It was better than your Spanish accent, if that helps.
Yeah, fair. Kicked off on Saturday after international break. Montpellier and Saint Etienne played incredibly exciting game that featured 2 red cards and 2 last-minute goals. Saint Etienne went 1-0 up in the 6th minute, and that scoreline looked like it was what was going to end up being until Montpellier tied in the 90th minute and then put away the winner in the 4th minute of stoppage time. Don't do things by halves, the French.
Moving over to Spain, La Primera División also resumed after the Spanish national team put on a showing over the international break. There are no real surprises from the results, but with 8 matches played, the table is beginning to separate itself. We can see who's rising to the challenge for the 2nd and 3rd spot and who's falling off and who will be competing really for that very coveted 2nd and last Champions League spot.
And then we're going all the way over to Mexico. We've got less than a month left in this league until playoffs, and there are 3 teams tied at 27 points looking to get that 4th spot. The top 8 teams make the playoffs. However, with the race for number 4 being so tight, teams below could creep in and take a spot away.
I'm really excited. I know I talk a lot about how exciting I think that league is, but I think it's really exciting.
It's definitely one of the most competitive, I have to say.
Absolutely. I mean, we had the most competitive chat on the last episode, though. I think, and I think that you agreed and landed on that it was the NWSL. Am I wrong?
You are wrong, but I'll be nice to you.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Moving over to the NWSL, we have a lot to talk about here, and this is very, very, very exciting. The final games of the season happened this past weekend, and we have our finalized playoff picture. So head over to the Patreon. We're going to put a full NWSL chat up there where we're going to preview the playoffs in full. We don't have enough time because, frankly, it could take about 40 minutes just to preview that. So we're going to put a full chat up on the Patreon. Head over there. Without further ado, let's get into it. Houston played Washington in both of their final games of the season, and Houston had a really interesting situation because essentially if Houston won that game, they made the playoffs. And if they lost, they did not. And Washington beat them 1-0. Their season is over. We cried tears of sadness for Chris, our diehard Houston Dash fan. And really this leaves me questioning, is this the last we're going to see of Kristie Mewis in the NWSL for a while? Do we think that she's going to hop over the pond?
See, I got asked this on Sunday as one of my questions on my adventures, and they asked whether I thought Kerr would jump back over to the NWSL, and I said I think it's more likely that Mewis will come over to the UK. And I could see her fitting into one of the other London clubs. I think she could fit in well at Arsenal. But to be honest, the way they're playing at the moment, it'll be Spurs. I think Spurs need her more than Arsenal do.
Absolutely. If I'm Kristie Mewis, I don't want to go to Arsenal because I'm fighting for playing time on a squad that's already pretty solidified. Although it would be fun for her to play with Tobin Heath. But absolutely, I'm going to a middle-of-the-table team and I'm trying to take them up a couple spots in the standings. I would not be surprised at all. However, I am going to just say Kristie Mewis has a really great thing going at Houston. She loves the coach. She loves the team. She loves the environment. This is the environment she was able to build herself back into the national team through this environment. And it would take a lot for her to, I think, leave the environment that is allowing her to grow as a player like it has. So I for one, while it does logistically make sense with her girlfriend and for a new challenge, I see her staying in the NWSL.
We're going to move on from Houston, Washington, and we're going to talk about Gotham, Louisville, but not just Gotham, Louisville. We're going to talk all things playoffs very briefly, and we're going to get in with our predictions, not only of the overall winner, but also of each game that is leading up to that final. And I'm going to let Sarah start talking about Gotham, Louisville, because I believe you were there.
I was there. Thank you. I was there. I got to be media. I got to be press. It was really, really fun. Gotham's playing at the beautiful Red Bull Arena, which is built for the MLS team, the New York Red Bulls. But this year has been their first inaugural season as that being their home field, and it's just a gorgeous stadium. It was so fun being there as media. This game was an interesting one because there really wasn't anything on the line. Gotham had already secured their spot in the playoffs, and Louisville had already secured their spot as the last place team in the league. Sorry, Louisville fans. It was too easy to not say. Louisville had not made the playoffs, which is fine because it's their first season in the league. They build from there. But there really wasn't too much on the line, and yet there felt like there was some tension in the air because of scheduling mishaps, whether it was games being rained out or delayed, or in this case, it was because when the news of the investigation of all of the sexual assault allegations came to light, a lot of games got canceled and rescheduled. And because of that, Gotham and Louisville played back-to-back. So they played each other once on Thursday night, I believe, and then once again on Sunday night. So literally back-to-back. And they tied each other the first time around, and they were playing each other again this time around. This game ended up 1-1. Carly Lloyd scored to put Gotham ahead 1-0. And it was really amazing to see the entire team. Obviously, this probably does have to do with Carly Lloyd, but I'm going to make it a lot bigger because the moment Carly Lloyd scored, the entire team, including the goalkeeper, and I posted a video of this, just made a mad dash to the corner of the field. And it was a goal celebration that felt really, really special. It felt like a World Cup goal celebration for the amount of time that they spent hugging each other and waving to the fans and taking it all in. It was a really special moment. I was watching that and I was like, this team is a team. If they love playing together this much, I would bet money on them going really far in the playoffs. I mean, they're just having a good time.
You're right. You can definitely see when teams don't like each other and they don't trust each other, it just goes downhill very quickly.
So Gotham was up 1-0. There was a handball called in the box from Allie Long. Stadium seemed to disagree. It was hard for me to see in person. Allie, what do you think? Was this a handball? Was it not a handball?
It wasn't. From what it sounds like, well, it looked like, again, it was a terrible angle, so I don't know how accurate it was. It looks like Allie Long kicked the ball into her own hand. So it looks like she was trying to do a clearance and missed, and it hit her hand, which, depending on the rules, whether that would count as an actual handball, because I know a couple of years ago in the Euros, Ellen White did that. She slipped over and kicked the ball into her own hand, and it got given as a penalty, and then it got reversed, and it just went as a goal kick. because in the rules is because it wasn't an intentional handball, it doesn't count. So my feeling is that it wasn't like she's gone up to smack it. It was she's kicked the ball into her own hand. And
so is it a handball?
Under the definition of the rules, no.
Very interesting.
Because it was unintentional.
Very interesting. It was a really, really hard one. I didn't have an angle on it. I'm pretty much always of the opinion if it's completely unintentional and it clearly didn't get in the path of stopping a goal from being scored, it's not worth calling a penalty kick. Nonetheless, the penalty kick was called. Louisville converted on it. And then Gotham took a moment to kind of like reset. You could see they were really shaken up by it. And then they came back with what I thought they really came back with a vengeance. But it was interesting because they did have quite a lull for about 5 minutes after that penalty kick was scored. And I was sitting there and looking ahead into playoff situations. That 5 minutes can end up being the death of you, right? If you get scored on and you hang your heads, that's when they're going to score again. So in the press conference, I asked the head coach, Scott Parkinson, how he felt his team responded. Did he think it was a positive response? And he said that he was really impressed by how his team responded. He said that he had put subs on also, which frankly, that's a hard thing in and of itself for a team to kind of like absorb the subs and still continue that same energy. So he said he was very impressed by his subs and that, he does know that is subconsciously in the back of everybody's head. They knew that this game didn't mean too much, so it wasn't quite as hard as maybe it would have been in the playoffs to really turn that around mentally. But overall, he was really happy with how their team responded. And I heard that answer, and it seemed like a head coach who had extreme amounts of confidence in his team, in his team's mentality, not just of the starters, but of the bench also, which is really important in the playoffs. Well, that was a really fun game to be at. I will say, hopefully we'll get to be at more games, doing more press, getting more fun clips and behind the scenes for all of you listeners. We cannot move on from the NWSL without doing predictions, Allie. So we are going to do 2 predictions. First, we're going to do overall winner. So let's start there. Allie, we have 6 teams in the playoffs right now. The top 6 teams made it. Who will be the overall winner of the NWSL this season?
Portland Thorns are going to do the double.
Oh, you really think they're going to do the double?
Yep, they've already got the shield and they're going to actually win the league. I have a lot of faith in the Thorns.
Why?
Because they have got some of the best players I have seen in a very long time.
Their lineup's absolutely stacked.
Exactly. If you've got a team that's got De Bruyne, you've got Horan, you've got Sink. I know they're the older players and they've got a bunch of younger players that are fighting for the position as well. And I'm excited by what the Thorns can do. And I think, yeah, they've got it.
I'm going to bet with my heart, Allie. I have to. I can't separate it. I'm picking Gotham, but I'll tell you why, because it's not just me being biased.
Okay.
It is everything I've just said about this team, the intangibles, if you will. And also, I think that the makeup of this team is one that people really underrate. The amount of really, really good players they have on this team, their bench is so deep. For a team that came in 5th in the league, I genuinely am shocked at how deep their bench is. First of all, Kaylin Sheridan is, in my opinion, one of the best young goalkeepers in the world right now. She is their starting goalkeeper. Allie Long, very, very solid center mid. We have Midge Purse, one of the most underrated talents who missed out on the women's national team. Anna Manu is sometimes just unbeatable on the left side with her speed. Carly Lloyd is, I'm going to assume, trying to extend her career as long as possible. She wants to win. They've just got an incredible lineup, but then you look at their bench. Paige Monahan arguably had one of the best Challenge Cups of 2021. Jennifer Cujo, again, just such a solid midfielder. And those are their subs. They're sitting on the bench. They've got such a deep bench. And it was on full display in the last 30 minutes of the game that I was at on Sunday. I'm picking them because of their bench, because of their coach, because of their team cohesion.
Wow. That is some reasoning. You're not going to sway me from the Thorns, but that is some reasoning.
Fair enough. moving from, we can't pick the thorns because in the next round, the 3 seed will play the 6 seed and the 4 seed will play the 5 seed, and the number 1 and 2 seeds are going to get byes. So what we're seeing this coming weekend is we will see a Washington versus North Carolina game, and we will see a Chicago versus Gotham FC game. So let's start with Washington versus North Carolina playing at Washington. Who do you have, Allie?
North Carolina Courage.
You have the number 6 seed beating the number 3 seed? Tell us why.
Because it's not a league game. Anything happens in these like knockout tournament type things. And I think that the Courage, again, have such a strong lineup. On their day, they're unbeatable, and they've picked up a couple of British talents, such as James, who's been phenomenal for them. And I just think Washington are just tired.
That's funny because I actually feel that about North Carolina. I feel that North Carolina is very tired, and they've had a steady decline in their season in the past 3 weeks. And Washington has had a weirdly steady incline, if you will. So I think momentum will carry Washington through, and momentum will be the end of the North Carolina Courage. All right, final prediction. Second game of the weekend, we'll see Gotham FC fly to Chicago to take on the Chicago Red Stars. This is a 4 seed playing a 5 seed, so arguably there's really no underdog here. Who do you have?
I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think Gotham have got this one. I think they've got a better squad than Chicago.
I totally agree. And I do feel bad for Chicago because it's kind of like you're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Always in the playoffs, always pretty highly ranked, never winning the final, and I feel for you, and I want to pick you, but I've already got Gotham, so I'm sorry, so I'm picking Gotham. All right, those games are happening this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. British. Oh, no, you guys had daylight savings. That's 3 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. British time, so that's an early Sunday for you all, so everybody tune into the NWSL semifinals. This is really important for ratings, and I don't know why I'm plugging the NWSL in ratings, but just support the players. Watch the games.
Absolutely. We want women to do well. And for our British viewers and international viewers who aren't aware, you can watch them for free on Twitch.
Ooh, I love that. All right, moving into our final subject. We're going back over to England because we had some FA Cup matches, did we not?
We did, and just to clarify, because a lot of people have got confused, this is the FA Cup that is technically from last season, but everything got pushed back because of COVID. So the semi-finals were Arsenal-Brighton and Manchester City-Chelsea. If you look on paper, the teams you're expected to win did, so it's going to be an Arsenal-Chelsea FA Cup final, which...
That is spicy.
It is, and it's similar to the one that was a couple of years ago where Chelsea won their first FA Cup. So it is going to be an interesting matchup because it's arguably two of our strongest sides facing for the first silverware of, well, the last silverware technically of the season.
Technically. So while we're in predictions mode, Arsenal versus Chelsea FA Cup final. What do you think?
I'm going to back Arsenal.
You're making it hard for me to also back Arsenal, but we all know that I love Arsenal. Why are you taking Arsenal? I guess to play the other side, Arsenal's already beat Chelsea once this season. You would think that Emma Hayes and the squad will not be having that again.
Yeah, but I also think that Arsenal players are coming into form at the right time. Like, they already were quite good. And then you look at what happened with the international break, with Mido being on fire. Leah Williamson has grown in this new sense of confidence. We've got Kim Little, who is still doing magical things, even though many wrote her off a while ago when she broke her leg, or rather had her leg broken. So I think it is very much Arsenal's to lose, maybe?
I think that's a hot take. I don't necessarily think it's anybody's to lose. I think this is going to be a battle, and it's going to be a tight game. I personally think that Arsenal's in slightly better form than Chelsea is right now, but I never discount, never count out Emma Hayes. She would be terrifying to stand on the opposite sideline from, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I just wanted to break down the games just a little bit. So, talking about Arsenal-Brighton, that was the more interesting of the two matches, to be honest. Both ended up, funny enough, the same scoreline. Both Arsenal-Brighton, Chelsea-Man City ended up 3-0. Brighton gave Arsenal a game that I don't even think Arsenal were expecting, and it took a long time to break them down. And it ended up being 3-0, but I thought credit to Megan Walsh, who is the Brighton keeper, because she kept them in that game for a very long time.
So what were Brighton doing that was hard for Arsenal to break down? Because I'm sure other WSL teams are really going to take notes here. If you play Arsenal well, other teams are going to take notes on it. What were they doing that was so hard for Arsenal to crack, even though they eventually did?
They were capping their wingers, which I've not seen many players, like teams, do against Arsenal before, because normally you will have like Katie McCabe running down the wing. You've got Beth Mead, who likes to run in that position, and they just had like a brick wall of like 4 and sometimes 5 defenders at the back, which stopped that run of play. So it stopped them pinging the balls in to the box, and also they had Megan Walsh, but they were managing to just stop that. It was only when I think Hope decided that they're going to have to go forward in order to try and get something that you found that defence cracked, and that's when Arsenal were able to ping it across. I'm going to be honest, if it had gone down to penalties, it could have well gone to Brighton, because I think Megan Walsh on her day is one of the best goalkeepers we've got in the WSL.
Wow, I love that. That bodes well for a team like Arsenal, who sometimes really strong teams don't necessarily need to do their work to break down a team, because they just are strong enough where they'll break it down from the start of the game. But to have to put the work in to figure out what's going on, to figure out how can we adjust our lineup, how can we adjust our style of play to beat this team, that really bodes well for Arsenal as a unit, to know that they're able to do that on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's full credit to Arsenal and their new manager that they did manage to change their play. And we are seeing some familiar faces popping up, with Beth Mead getting a goal, with Kim Little getting a goal. I think Leah Williamson scoring the third, which obviously as a diehard Arsenal fan probably meant you saw it in the celebration. It meant the absolute world to her to contribute to them getting to another Wembley final.
Chelsea Man City, we have to touch on it because Helen's just off sobbing. Another poor performance from Manchester City. Is that how you would encompass this game? Because that's really what I would say.
Yeah, Chelsea walked it. Let's be honest. We talked about breaking it down because, like I said, it's interesting that it ended the same score for both semi-finals, because Chelsea broke them down within the first 20 minutes, and Ellen White missed 2 sitters in that time, like 2 absolute sitters, which if you are a striker, you are getting.
And that's very unlike Ellen White, I will say.
We can keep going on about injury lists. They've been...
No more excuses.
No, it's not an excuse, but they have been dealt another blow in the goalkeeping front, that their backup goalkeeper broke her collarbone playing for England's unders in international break. See, this is why we don't like international break.
Oh, come on, Allie. We all know that you enjoyed it. We all know you had a good time.
But to be honest, there is no excuse, because I saw no fight. I watched that semi-final, and this is Man City's only chance of silverware from last season, right? You're thinking they're the holders of the FA Cup. They're going to want to like maintain it. They've battered West Ham in the 16s. They battered Leicester in the quarter. So they like really seemed geared up for it. And then they come up against Chelsea, and it was sort of like, here you go. Go on. It was so boring.
It's really disappointing, because as a fan of a team, it's one thing to see a team lose. It's another thing to see them essentially give up.
I've been there. It's painful. It's painful.
We do feel for you, City fans, but yeah, this was very clear that City is not the team that they were last year. They are not at this point in right now contending for titles for the top of the league. They are, by all senses of the word as we've said it, a little distraught right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't tell whether they are disheartened themselves with the club, so they've given up, or if this is a protest statement until the club sorts itself out. But either way, it's going to be tough times for a City fan.
A protest statement, I can't skip over that. A protest statement by the players?
Yeah.
To say, like, we're not going to play, we're not going to try until what?
Until you sort out a manager, because they clearly don't like Gareth Taylor. You're seeing it on the pitch that they're not listening to when he's yelling out stuff that he wants them to do. They're doing their own thing. And I've seen it before with other clubs where they've just gave up trying to force the powers that be's hand, because it's easy to get rid of a manager. It is harder to replace 22, 23 players that have said enough is enough.
That's wild, Allie. That's a hot take. I've never heard of that. I've never seen that happen, but that's really, really interesting that A, you have, and B, you think that's what's happening at Manchester City. I'm not sitting here saying that I think they like Gareth Taylor, and I definitely, I was the first to say last season that I don't think he's a qualified or good coach, but that's a whole another step. So that's really fascinating. It's something I will be keeping in mind next time I watch City. And for those of you who are going live, it'll be interesting to see you can always see more. You can see more of the interaction when you go live. I kind of jumped the gun in us talking about our predictions. You think it's Arsenal's to take? I think it's going to be a battle. I think I'm going to say Chelsea. I'm going to bet on Emma Hayes, really. So the big question here, Allie, can either of them do the quadruple?
Yeah, that's the thing. Arsenal have done it before, many years ago.
And just to say, the quadruple would be winning the league, winning the FA Cup, winning the Conti Cup, and winning the Champions League. So could either of them do it this year?
See, I'm going to go against myself because I've said that Arsenal are going to win the FA Cup. But then I'm thinking out of the two, Chelsea's the most likely to do the quadruple.
You think yes, somebody can do the quadruple, and if it would be Chelsea.
Out of those two, yes.
I don't think that we're in a time frame where anybody will really ever again do the quadruple. I think it's just gotten more and more competitive. I know Arsenal of the past have done it, but I just don't think it's possible anymore. I think it's far too competitive, first of all, in the league, but even more than that, what I think is more competitive is the Champions League. I think somebody could do the league, the FA Cup, and the Conti Cup, but I really don't think that team would also be able to take the Champions League. It's just too much, and there's too much greater competition out there. That's a tall task to play all of those extra games, win all of those extra titles, and also have to take down somebody like Barcelona in the championship. I just don't think so. I think we're past those times.
Ooh, that is so brave.
This was a fun one. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.